When an 8-year-old girl climbs onto Santa's lap and whispers, "I just want my mom back," no one in the crowd expects the man standing behind her, a billionaire stranger in a suit, to freeze like he's seen a ghost. But what the world doesn't know is that the child's wish just shattered the secret that could destroy a powerful empire. Because the girl isn't just a stranger's daughter. She's his. And her mother? The woman he lost, and never knew kept the greatest secret of his life. But as love resurfaces, the past returns with knives. And some names won't let go without blood. Stay until the end. You won't breathe until it's over. Snow blanketed the streets of Manhattan like a gentle secret. Twinkling lights blinked from every storefront, and bells jingled with every footstep on Fifth Avenue. Inside the grand lobby of the Belgrave Plaza, a towering Christmas tree shimmered with gold ornaments and crystal snowflakes. At its base sat a man in a red velvet suit, beard as white as the snow outside, his hearty laughter echoing over the excited chatter of children waiting in line. 8-year-old Lily pressed her hands against the velvet rope, her wool mittens damp from melted snow. She bounced on her heels, watching as the boy ahead of her asked Santa for a new PlayStation and a puppy. The boy's mother smiled and tugged his coat as he slid off Santa's lap. Then it was Lily's turn. She stepped forward slowly, her boots scuffing against the marble floor. Her coat was too thin for the weather, a frayed zipper half broken, and the knit hat on her head had a hole in it, tugged low to cover her ears. Despite it all, her brown eyes sparkled with purpose. "Ho ho ho. And who do we have here?" Santa beamed, patting his knee. Lily climbed up carefully, clutching the edge of his sleeve to balance herself. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked. "Lily," she whispered. "And what would you like for Christmas, Lily?" the man asked, expecting the usual dollhouse or glittery unicorn. But Lily didn't smile. She looked down, then slowly up at him. Her voice was soft but unwavering. "I want my mom back." Santa blinked, caught off guard. "She went away in April," Lily said. "She said she'd come back soon, but she didn't. I know I should probably ask for a toy or something, but I just want my mom." A few feet behind the red velvet ropes, a man in a charcoal suit stiffened. He hadn't meant to stop. In fact, Alexander Drake never stopped for anything unless it concerned business. He had meetings lined up from dusk until dawn, contracts to finalize, buildings to acquire. But the line of children in front of the grand tree had blocked his usual route to the executive elevators, and he'd stood for a moment, mildly irritated. Then he heard her voice. He could see her clearly now, a little girl with wide brown eyes and a determination far too heavy for her small shoulders. Something about her made his heart lurch violently in his chest. A memory flickered. A name whispered across the back of his mind. The Santa hesitated, clearing his throat. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he said gently. "That's not something I can." "I know," Lily said quickly, her voice breaking just a little. "But maybe you could tell the stars or God or whoever listens. I just thought, if anyone could ask them, it'd be you." She smiled then, not a happy smile but the kind a child wears when they're trying not to cry in front of strangers. Santa reached into his coat and pulled out a small silver bell. He pressed it into her mittened hand. "Hold this tight on Christmas Eve," he said. "And believe, okay. Sometimes, wishes travel faster than you think." Lily nodded solemnly, sliding off his lap. She clutched the bell to her chest as she walked toward the exit, a tall woman with tired eyes waiting for her near the revolving doors. Alex's breath caught. Claire. It had been nearly 9 years since he last saw her, the woman who once turned his entire world upside down. She hadn't aged the way he expected. Her hair was shorter, her cheeks thinner, but it was her. There was no mistaking those storm-gray eyes. And if Clara was here, and the girl was her daughter? He was moving before his mind caught up. He stepped around the display, weaving past the velvet ropes, heart hammering so loudly it drowned out the sound of the carols overhead. Clara turned just as Lily ran into her side. Her arms wrapped protectively around the girl. She looked up and froze. Their eyes met. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Alex couldn't speak. His voice was locked somewhere in his chest, buried beneath the cold and the shock. Clara bent low to Lily's ear and whispered something. The girl nodded, and together they began walking toward the exit. "Clara," Alex finally choked out, his voice hoarse. She stopped. Her back straightened, but she didn't turn. "Is she?" he asked, words faltering. "Is she mine?" For a moment, all the air in the grand lobby seemed to vanish. The lights dimmed, the carols muffled, the world shrank to the three of them standing in a triangle of secrets. Clara turned her head slightly, just enough for him to see her profile. "Yes," she said softly. Then she took her daughter's hand and walked out into the snow. Alex stood frozen in place, the velvet ropes around the Santa display swaying behind him. Outside, the wind howled down the street, blowing flakes into the sky like pieces of memory. And in his chest, something ancient and unfamiliar stirred. A father's instinct. And a past he thought he'd buried for good. The glass doors of Belgrave Plaza hissed shut behind them, but Alexander Drake didn't move. His thoughts were a tempest. Claire. A child. His child. His jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. Lily. The girl's name was Lily. He watched through the frosted glass as Clara and Lily stepped into the snowstorm. A cab slowed beside them, the driver leaning over to open the door. Clara guided the little girl inside with the same gentle grace Alex remembered too well, then disappeared behind the veil of falling snow. He reached the door too late. The cab's taillights blurred red in the storm and were swallowed by the city. Alex turned and stormed toward the elevators. His assistant, Madison, tried to keep up. Sir? I need a trace on a cab, he snapped. 5th Avenue. 10 minutes ago. Get the number from the lobby camera. Find out where it dropped off. Now. Yes, Mr. Drake. As the elevator doors slid shut, Alex pressed both palms against the cool metal walls, his heart thundering in his ears. Why hadn't Clara told him? Why had she disappeared? Why had she lied? And yet, a part of him already knew the answer. Clara had always feared the world he came from, the polished ruthlessness, the boardrooms with battles dressed as meetings, the suffocating expectations of being a Drake. She once called it a machine. Cold, devouring. She'd said she didn't want to be a gear in it, and so she'd walked away. But not alone, it seemed. Back in his penthouse, the fire crackled untouched. Floor-to-ceiling windows gave way to a panorama of glittering Manhattan, but Alex saw none of it. He sat on the edge of the sofa, fingers steepled against his lips, watching the screen as Madison brought up the security footage from the lobby. There, he said, pausing the feed. He watched it again. Clara standing by the doors, a hand brushing Lily's hair. The way the child leaned into her side, the small, unspoken bonds between them. She was so small, but her eyes. God. Those eyes. His mother's eyes. Alex's voice was gravel. I want everything you can find on Clara Hensley. Addresses. Employers. Phone numbers. Now. Madison hesitated. Sir, do you think it's wise to? I'm not asking if it's wise. Madison nodded and vanished. An hour later, Alex stood alone, watching as a small folder of digital files loaded on his screen. Clara Hensley. Current residence, Elmhurst, Queens. Occupation, substitute teacher, various public schools. Emergency contact, none. Health insurance, state subsidized. Child dependent, Lily Hensley, age 8. He stared at the address. Queens. A world away from the life he lived now. He remembered when she used to dream of owning a bookstore in Brooklyn. Of planting lilacs on the windowsill. Of reading old novels under a warm lamp and raising a child with love and stories, not servants and steel towers. And now she was scraping by as a substitute. A billionaire father, and Lily lived on subsidized groceries? He slammed his fist into the desk. He grabbed his coat. Elmhurst wasn't like Manhattan. No polished marble or gold-trimmed windows. Just narrow sidewalks, aging brownstones, and the smell of roasted chestnuts drifting from a corner cart. Alex stepped out of the black car, drawing his collar up against the chill, his shoes crunching ice as he approached the building listed in her file. 4th floor. Apartment 4B. His breath fogged in front of him as he climbed the stairs. No elevator. Cracked paint on the walls. A flickering bulb overhead. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again, harder. Still nothing. Then, the sound of quiet movement behind the door. Pause. A soft voice. Who is it? He closed his eyes for a moment. Claire. It's me. Silence. Then the door creaked open just an inch. Her gray eye peeked through the chain. I told you to stay away. You never gave me the chance to stay at all, he said, his voice low. The chain held the door tight. She doesn't know, Clara whispered. She thinks her father died before she was born. You weren't supposed to find her. Why? Clara's hand trembled against the frame. Because I saw what your world does to people. I saw what it almost did to me. And I swore it would never touch her. She's mine, Alex said. She's mine, Clara fired back, her voice rising. I raised her. I held her when she was sick. I stayed up every night worrying how I'd pay for heat. I missed meals so she could eat. You were building skyscrapers. I was building her life. I would have helped. You would have taken, she said coldly. And I wasn't going to let her be your heir, your next project, your investment. Alex was stunned silent. I'm not here to take her from you, he finally said. I saw her, Clara. I heard her wish. I can't unhear it. The door didn't open further. Then a soft voice echoed from the hall behind her. Mom? Clara looked over her shoulder. Lily stood in a pink nightshirt, her stuffed rabbit trailing from one hand. Her eyes landed on Alex, wide and searching. Who's that? Clara's voice broke. No one, baby. Just someone from the building. Alex didn't breathe. Lily stepped closer. Her eyes narrowed as if trying to place him. You were at the big Christmas tree. Clara turned to her. Sweetheart, go back to bed. I'll be right there. But Lily didn't move. I remember your eyes, she said softly. They looked sad. Alex swallowed hard. Then Lily tilted her head. Why are your eyes the same color as mine? Clara froze. The silence stretched so long it hurt. And then Lily asked the question that shattered everything. Are you my dad? Clara's heart beat so loudly she couldn't hear anything else. The hallway spun, not with motion but with pressure. Lily's question lingered in the air like smoke, quiet, impossible to grasp but impossible to ignore. Are you my dad? Alex stared at the little girl, her wide, curious eyes locked on his. His voice caught in his throat. This was the moment, unexpected, raw. There was no press conference, no strategy. Just truth, trembling on the edge of a child's world. Clara reached out and gently touched Lily's shoulder. Sweetheart, it's late, she whispered, her voice too fragile to hide its tremor. Let's talk in the morning. Lily didn't move. Her voice was a whisper. But he looks like me. Alex dropped to one knee, slowly, like he was approaching a wild bird that might fly if startled. I didn't know about you, Lily, he said softly. Not until today. But yes, I think I'm your dad. Clara closed her eyes. The world tilted. Lily blinked up at her mother, then back to Alex. Why didn't you come before? She asked. Alex looked to Clara. I didn't know you existed. Lily's brow furrowed. Did Mommy not tell you? Alex said nothing. Clara swallowed the knot in her throat. Lily, go back to bed. Please. But I said please. Something in her voice stopped Lily mid-sentence. She looked back at Alex, hesitant. Then nodded and turned down the hall. As her small footsteps faded into the dark, Clara closed the door quietly and leaned against it, her forehead touching the wood. She didn't look at Alex. You don't get to walk in and say you're her father just because you showed up, she said, her voice hollow. You missed everything. I didn't miss it, Alex replied. It was stolen from me. Now she turned, her eyes sharp. No. It was protected. Alex stepped forward. From what? A life without struggle? A father who wanted to give her everything. No, from becoming a trophy, Clara snapped. From being raised in a fortress full of sharks. From growing up thinking love is measured in money. His jaw flexed. You think that's all I am? I know what you were, Alex. When I left, you were halfway to being your father. Cold. Calculating. You were building your empire while I was crying in a bathroom holding a pregnancy test. He flinched. She wasn't supposed to happen, Clara said. You and we were unraveling. You don't even remember the last thing you said to me. I do, Alex said quietly. I told you that love didn't pay rent. Clara laughed bitterly, wiping at her eyes. Right. And I told you I'd rather be broke than unloved. A long silence fell between them. I changed, Alex said. You don't know who I am now. You think money changed you? No, he said. I lost everything that mattered except the money. Clara looked at him, finally seeing something unfamiliar in his face. A hollow kind of ache. A man not just shocked by the truth but wounded by the time lost. I want to know her, he said. That's all I'm asking. You think you can just step in? Her voice cracked. After 8 years? No, he said quieter. But I have to try. You can hate me all you want. But don't make her hate me too just because you do. Clara's hands were shaking. Every decision I've made for Lily has been to protect her, she said. She's not a toy. You don't get weekend visits and birthday presents and applause. She's a real person with real feelings and she doesn't even know what it means to have a dad. She will, Alex said. Her eyes flashed. What does that mean? It means I'm not going anywhere. He stepped back from the door. I'll wait, he said. Outside your building in the snow if I have to. You can slam doors. You can tell me I'm not ready. But I'm not walking away. Not again. Then he turned and left. The next morning, Lily stood at the window cradling her stuffed rabbit. Snow fell gently across the city like powdered sugar on rooftops. Her breath fogged the glass. "Mom?" she said without turning. Clara stood at the kitchen sink, drying a plate. "Yes. That man from last night?" Clara hesitated. "I dreamed about him," Lily said. "He was in a suit. But he sat with me in the park and gave me hot chocolate. He didn't say anything. He just stayed." Clara's hands stopped moving. "I think I liked him," Lily whispered. Outside, across the street, a black town car sat idling. Inside, Alex watched the window, waiting for a glimpse of her. By noon, Clara's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I won't come to the door again. I'll wait until you're ready. But please, let me take you both to dinner. Just once. Public place. You choose. No strings." She stared at it for several minutes, torn between fury and the undeniable tremble of her heart. She hadn't seen Alex like this before. Not in all the years she'd known him. Not when she left. Not when he didn't chase her. And now he was waiting outside her window like some kind of prince from a story Lily would read. That night, Clara said nothing. But Lily noticed her putting on lipstick before heading to the store. And she noticed the way her mother lingered near the door, as if waiting for something to stop her. The next day, another text. "Tomorrow. 6 p.m. Bluebird Cafe. If you come, I'll be there. If not, I won't ask again." Clara stared at the message. Bluebird Cafe. The same place they had their first kiss. The same booth by the window. She pressed the phone to her chest and closed her eyes. She didn't know if she could forgive him. But she knew if she didn't go, she'd never forgive herself. The bell above the door chimed softly, and Clara stepped into the Bluebird Cafe, the scent of roasted coffee beans and warm cinnamon flooding her senses like a memory too sharp to soften. It hadn't changed. Not the blue floral wallpaper. Not the antique brass light fixtures. Not the faint scratch on the wooden floor by the second booth, where her heel once caught on their first date and Alex had laughed. Back when he used to laugh easily. He was already there, seated by the window. No guards, no entourage. Just Alex in a black coat dusted with snow, a nervous cup of coffee steaming in his hand. Clara stood in the doorway for a long second. She could still leave. But Lily's voice echoed in her mind, "I think I liked him." Alex looked up. Their eyes met. And the world shifted. She walked to the booth and sat down slowly, folding her hands in her lap. She didn't remove her coat. She didn't smile. "Thank you," Alex said quietly. Clara nodded. A waitress approached, smiling with the ease of someone who didn't know how much weight was in the air. "Hey there. Can I get you started?" "Chamomile tea," Clara murmured. The waitress left and silence settled like dust. Alex studied her face. She hadn't put on much makeup. Her hair was pulled back in a loose braid, her coat frayed at the sleeve. But her eyes, God, her eyes, still held that storm that had once pulled him in so fast, he hadn't remembered to breathe. "I didn't expect you to come," he said. "I almost didn't." He nodded slowly. Clara glanced out the window. "You know, the last time we were here, you promised we'd never be strangers." He smiled faintly. "I remember. But we became strangers anyway. Only because you left." She stiffened. "Because I had to. Because you didn't trust me." "No, Alex," she said, her voice firmer now. "Because I didn't trust the man you were becoming." He sighed, brushing a hand through his hair. "You said I was halfway to being my father." "You were." Alex looked away. "I hated that man." "So did I," she said. "Which is why I couldn't let my daughter grow up inside the same cage." The waitress returned with Clara's tea, setting it down quietly and leaving them alone again. "You should have told me," Alex said. "About her." "I didn't want her to be some pawn in a family legacy," Clara whispered. "I didn't want her to be swallowed." "She wouldn't have been." Clara arched an eyebrow. "Wouldn't she? What would you have done? Sent her to boarding school? Groomed her for board meetings?" "I don't know," Alex admitted. "But I know I would have loved her." She blinked. That cracked something in her. He leaned forward. "When I saw her in the lobby, I didn't feel pride or shock or anger. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Like I'd spent my whole life building towers on the wrong land. Like everything I thought I wanted was nothing compared to what I was looking at." Clara's hands trembled as she lifted her tea to her lips. "She's incredible," Alex whispered. "Funny. Brave. Smart. And she's got this look when she talks about something she believes in. Like she dares the world to challenge her." Clara smiled faintly despite herself. "She gets that from me." "I know." Silence again. Finally Clara asked, "What do you want, Alex?" He looked at her carefully. "The truth?" "Yes. I want a chance to be part of her life. I don't want to take her from you. I just want to know her. And if you'll let me, I want to help." She stared at him. "Help how?" "I know money doesn't fix everything," he said. "But it can help with school, healthcare, safety. She deserves every opportunity. And I'm not going to stand back anymore." Clara bit her lip. Her voice softened. "She draws pictures of our apartment," she said. "She dreams about having her own room. She never complains, but I know she wishes for more." Alex nodded, swallowing hard. "I don't want to confuse her," Clara added. "She already has questions." "Let me answer them," he said. "With you. Not in secret. Not behind her back. Together." She looked at him long and hard, searching for the lie. But there wasn't one. He was terrified. And honest. "You can't disappear again," she said. "I won't. You can't make promises you won't keep." "I won't. You can't love her in pieces, Alex." He met her eyes. "I don't know how to love her anyway but whole." The next afternoon, Clara stood at the park gate, watching Lily spin in slow circles under the snow. Her boots kicked up powder. Her laugh rang out over the empty swings. Alex approached slowly, unsure if he was allowed to smile yet. Clara turned to him. "She thinks you're just a friend. For now." He nodded. "That's okay." Lily saw him. Her face lit up. "You came back," she shouted, running toward him. Alex crouched low, arms wide. She flung herself into his chest, and for the first time in his life he understood gravity. "I brought cocoa," he said. "Extra marshmallows. Mom never gives me extra marshmallows." He glanced at Clara. "I'm going to be the fun one, I guess." Clara smirked. "You try making her brush her teeth after 4 marshmallows." They sat together on a snow-dusted bench, cocoa in hand, Lily chatting between sips. She asked about snowplows and penguins and if Santa really knew who was naughty. Alex listened like her words were priceless. Clara watched them both, heart aching in a way she hadn't prepared for. Later, as the sun dipped low, Lily tugged on Alex's sleeve. "If you're my friend," she asked, "can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." She leaned in close. "I think my mom's sad a lot. She smiles, but sometimes it doesn't reach her eyes. Do you think you can make her laugh again?" Alex blinked. "I'll try," he said softly. Lily nodded. "I think you're strong enough." That night, Clara stood at her window again watching the city. Her phone buzzed. "Thank you. For trusting me. One day at a time. That's all I need." Clara typed slowly, deliberately. "One day at a time. But if you break her heart, just once, I will never let you see her again." His reply came instantly. "I won't break hers. Or yours. Not this time." She stared at the screen. And for the first time in years she allowed herself to hope. It started with Thursdays. Every Thursday after school, Alex picked Lily up from the corner of 46th and Windmere, outside her school's old iron gate. At first, he stood awkwardly among the other parents, all of them in puffer coats and sneakers, chatting about playdates and PTA drama. Alex, in his tailored cashmere and polished boots, looked like he'd taken a wrong turn into the wrong world. But Lily didn't seem to care. She ran to him each time with a beaming smile and questions tumbling from her lips faster than he could answer them. "Can we get waffles with whipped cream? Do you know how to draw a horse? Have you ever seen a volcano explode in real life?" He had never felt so unprepared for anything in his life. Mergers, acquisitions, stock plunges, he could handle those. But a child's curiosity? The sheer, boundless honesty of it? That was something else. Still he came back every week. Waffles turned into sketchbooks. Sketchbooks turned into bookstore visits. Eventually, Clara allowed Lily to start spending Saturdays with him too. They wandered museums and fed pigeons in the park, and she made him stop to look at things he would have passed without noticing. Painted bus benches, crumpled leaves shaped like hearts, clouds that looked like castles. And slowly Alex began to change. The skyscraper tycoon, the Wolf of Wall Street, the man who once called love a liability, he was vanishing. Replaced by someone quieter. Someone who remembered to breathe. Someone who laughed. Clara noticed it too. One evening, she stood in the hallway, listening through the door as Alex helped Lily with a diorama of a rainforest. His voice was low, patient. He didn't rush her when she glued a frog to the wrong tree. He just said, "Well, maybe that frog likes the view better from up there." Lily laughed so hard she snorted. Clara pressed her hand to her mouth and smiled, and then felt guilt tug at her ribs like a hook. It was getting too easy to fall back into this rhythm. Too easy to remember the warmth of Alex's arms or the way he used to kiss the corner of her mouth when she was sad. Too easy to imagine a life where none of the pain had happened. She couldn't afford that kind of hope. Not when Alex still didn't know the whole truth. Because there was something she hadn't told him. Not when she found out she was pregnant. Not when she left. Not even now. It had started with a letter. A thick, cream-colored envelope bearing the Drake family seal. The same crest Alex's father used to stamp on every asset, every contract, every threat veiled as an offer. Clara remembered standing outside her tiny apartment, fingers trembling as she tore it open. Inside was a check. $500,000. No note. No explanation. Just a phone number and a message scrawled in cold ink. Do the right thing. Disappear. She had never told Alex. Never told him that it hadn't just been ambition that drove him away from her. It was his father. Douglas Drake. Clara sat on her couch that night, the letter, long since wrinkled and creased from years of hiding, spread across her lap. She'd never cashed the check. It sat in a safety box, forgotten and yellowing. But the message it carried had never faded. The threat wasn't in the number, it was in the certainty. She had believed back then that Alex would take his father's side. That he'd call it damage control, or cleaning up a mess. That if she showed him the letter, he'd ask her to take the money quietly. So she never showed him. But now, watching Alex brush Lily's hair into braids on a Sunday morning, tongue sticking out in concentration, fingers clumsy and careful, Clara wondered if she'd been wrong. Later that evening, as the sun bled gold across the windows, Alex sat beside her on the worn couch, Lily asleep with her head in his lap. Clara tucked a blanket around her daughter and sat back down, careful not to disturb the peace. Alex spoke first. "She's everything I never knew I wanted," he said quietly. Clara nodded. He turned to her. "And you're still the only person who's ever made me feel like I could breathe." Her heart tightened. "Clara," he said, "I know I can't rewrite the past. But I want a future. With her. With you." She stared down at Lily's sleeping face. "You don't know everything," Clara said. Alex frowned. "What do you mean?" She stood and walked to the small desk in the corner, pulled open the drawer and removed the old envelope. She turned and handed it to him. He took it slowly, his eyes narrowing. When he saw the seal, his face paled. He unfolded the letter, read the short, scathing note, and then stared at the check. It had the date, the amount, the signature. His father's signature. He looked up, stunned. "He paid you?" Clara shook her head. "I never took the money." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't think you'd believe me." Alex's hands trembled as he set the check down like it was a dead thing. "I would have believed you," he said. "I would have burned the damn check and gone to war with him. You weren't that man yet." His jaw clenched. I just didn't know it." They stood in silence. Only the sound of Lily's soft breathing filled the room. Alex looked at her, the woman who had carried his daughter through fear and fire, who had stood against his father, who had walked away not because she didn't love him, but because she did. "Clara," he said, voice cracking, "I am so sorry." She looked away, blinking fast. "It doesn't change what happened." "No," he said. "But it changes what I do now." The next morning, Alex walked into his father's private office at Drake Holdings, unannounced. Douglas Drake looked up from his desk, unimpressed. "You're early." Alex tossed the check down onto the polished wood. Douglas picked it up with 2 fingers. That. "You tried to pay off the mother of my child," Alex said, his voice shaking with fury. "I tried to protect the legacy. She's not a scandal. She's a person. And Lily," his voice cracked, "Lily is my daughter." Douglas leaned back in his chair. "And what? You think you're going to play house with her now? Walk away from everything we built because of some?" Alex stepped forward, eyes blazing. "I'm not walking away from anything. I'm building something better. Something that actually matters. And you're done." Douglas laughed. "You think the board will side with you over me?" Alex leaned in close. "They already have." He dropped a folder onto the desk. Signed. Seal. Unanimous. Douglas's smile vanished. Alex straightened. "You taught me how to build an empire. But she taught me how to love." He turned and walked out. That evening, as Lily climbed into bed, she tugged on Clara's sleeve. "Mom?" "Yes, baby? Is it okay if I start calling him Dad?" Clara's throat tightened. She kissed Lily's forehead. "Yes," she whispered. "It's more than okay." Outside, Alex stood at the door, unseen, his hand pressed to the frame, eyes wet. And in the silence that followed, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. "Oh. 3 weeks after Lily first called him Dad, Alex Drake did something no one in Manhattan's upper echelon thought possible. He vanished from the spotlight. No galas. No boardroom cameos. No interviews on late-night business talk shows. The man once nicknamed the Ghost Broker by the press had disappeared for something far less glamorous. Saturday morning pancakes and sidewalk chalk masterpieces outside a two-bedroom apartment in Elmhurst. And it was perfect. He and Clara had slipped into a rhythm, slow, imperfect, and new. He still had the penthouse in Midtown, but he rarely slept there. Instead, he helped Lily with her homework at Clara's tiny kitchen table and did the dishes afterward. He learned to braid hair from YouTube tutorials. He even got a parking ticket while trying to parallel park near her school. Every piece of it, every inconvenient, messy moment, was a gift he never expected to have. But perfection never lasts long in a world built on secrets. And Alex's world had a long memory. On a frosty Thursday evening, while Lily was in bed and Clara curled up on the couch beside him, Alex's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. Clara frowned. You expecting someone? No, he said. But I'll check. Could be Madison. He stepped into the hallway and answered. Alex Drake, he said quietly. The voice on the other end was smooth, sharp, and unmistakably dangerous. Hello, stranger. Alex froze. Genevieve. I heard you've been slumming it in Queens. What do you want? Genevieve Ashcroft had once been his father's closest ally, a stunning, ruthless executive who played corporate power like a violin. Years ago, they had danced around each other with dangerous smiles, once coming close to an engagement no one truly wanted. She was beautiful, brilliant, and cold. The perfect heir to the Drake Empire, at least that's what Douglas used to say. I'd like a meeting, Genevieve said. Old friends and all that. We were never friends. Well, lovers then. Rivals. Fellow inmates in the prison your father built. Alex ran a hand through his hair. Why now? Because word on the street is you've gone soft. You've been talking to my father. Of course I have. He wants his empire back. I want to know what you're doing with it. It's nothing personal. I just hate being on the outside of things. Alex hesitated. Where? Tomorrow. No. The penthouse bar at the Astor Hotel. I'm not interested. Oh, but Clara should be. Alex's blood went cold. Leave her out of this. I tried, Genevieve said. But you put her front and center when you declared her daughter a Drake. The sharks are circling Alex. I'm just the first to bite. She hung up. The next day, Alex arrived at the Astor Hotel 10 minutes early. He wore black. So did she. Genevieve looked exactly the same. A sleek coat draped across her chair, lipstick like blood, eyes calculating behind delicate glasses. I heard you're renovating daycare centers now, she said with a smirk. How noble. He didn't smile. Why did you drag Clara into this? Genevieve swirled her drink. Because she's your weakness. And the board knows it. The board approved my takeover. Yes, and they regret it. You've been absent for months. No acquisitions. No headlines. Just a girl and a hot plate in Queens. I'm not their puppet. You were never meant to be, she said, sipping. But if you don't return to the game, someone else will move your pieces for you. Alex sat back. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you a deal, she said. Come back. Be the shark again. Reclaim the boardroom before someone else decides Clara and Lily are liabilities instead of assets. His voice was low, deadly. If anyone lays a hand on them, I'm not the enemy, Alex, but they're talking. Your name's on everything. Clara's address, Lily's school. You've tied your whole bloodline to your legacy, and now every rival who wants your crown knows exactly where to look. Alex's pulse thundered in his ears. She leaned in. Let me be the firewall. Come back to the company on your terms. I'll protect your girl. You can be the benevolent king. Just don't be absent. Or they'll burn it all down, and her with it. Alex stared at her, and for the first time in years, he saw what his father had created. A world where love was leverage and families were war zones. He stood. You touch them, Genevieve, and I will end you. She smiled. Darling, that's the passion I missed. That night, Clara found Alex pacing in the kitchen, his shoulders tense. What happened? She asked. He turned, startled. Nothing. Just business. She stepped closer. You don't pace over business. He stared at her and debated lying. But he couldn't. Not anymore. There's someone from my father's circle, he said. Genevieve Ashcroft. She's dangerous. She's watching. Clara stiffened. What does she want? She wants me back in the Empire. Wants me visible. If I don't come back, she hinted that you and Lily could be used to pressure me. Fear flickered across Clara's face. I won't let anything happen to either of you, he said quickly. But you're saying it could. He hesitated. Yes. She turned away, her hand on the kitchen counter to steady herself. I left that world to protect Lily, she whispered. I thought, maybe this time it would be different. It is different. I'm not that man anymore. But the world still is, she said. And now it knows where we live. He stepped forward. I can fix this. I'll build a wall so high no one will ever reach you. Clara looked at him, eyes shining. What if I don't want to live behind a wall? He didn't have an answer. The next day Alex made a decision. He returned to Drake Holdings, not as a shadow but as a storm. In 3 days he restructured half the board. He revoked all outside security access to his private estate. He doubled protection at Lily's school and moved Clara and Lily into a private residence under their names, but off the public record. He didn't ask permission. He just made it happen. But Clara, she wasn't sure whether to thank him or feel like a prisoner again. That night, she stood on the balcony of the safe house, watching Lily chase fireflies under the glow of the patio lights. Alex joined her. She's safe, he said. But at what cost? He turned to her. I'll tear down the company before I let it take her. Clara studied him. And if it comes down to that? His voice was steel. Then I'll burn it to the ground. In the shadows of Manhattan's oldest club, Genevieve sat across from Douglas Drake. She's tougher than she looks, Genevieve said. Douglas poured a drink. But not invincible. She won't leave him again. Then we'll make her. Douglas raised his glass. Let's remind Alex what legacy costs. The new house sat on the edge of Forest Hills, hidden behind iron gates with ivy climbing old brick and a garden lily called the Fairy Maze. To the outside world it didn't exist. No name on the mailbox. No records on file. Just one narrow winding path leading to a life few knew had ever been built. Inside, Clara stood at the window watching Lily in the garden below. She was tracing the cobblestone path with a ribbon in her hand, pretending it was a magic spell that made roses bloom faster. Clara tried to smile. But the truth settled heavier each day. They were safe. But only because they were hidden. And Clara had never been one to hide. Behind her, Alex walked into the room holding a stack of papers. He'd been working around the clock since Genevieve's warning, rebuilding his power within Drake Holdings, insulating every asset that could be traced back to Lily. He was turning the company into a fortress. But in doing so, he was rebuilding the very world Clara had once run from. She's asking why she doesn't go to school anymore, Clara said softly. Alex paused. We're setting up tutors. I vetted a few. Private, certified, no ties to the press. She misses her friends. She's safer this way. Clara turned to him. You keep saying that. Like safety is the goal. But what kind of life is this? He exhaled, resting the papers on the windowsill. You think I'm doing this because I want to control you. I think you're doing this because you're afraid, she said. And you have every right to be. But Alex, we didn't ask for a cage. We asked for a chance. He looked down. His voice came out rough. If anything happened to her. Clara crossed the room in 2 steps and placed a hand on his chest. Then we'd fight. Together. Like a family. That word stopped him. Family. Not an empire. Not a company. Not a legacy. Family. He closed his eyes and leaned his forehead against hers. I'm trying, he whispered. I know, she said. But you can't fight like your father and expect to win with love. The following morning, Alex stepped into the boardroom on the 87th floor of Drake Holdings for the first full executive summit in 4 months. It was different now. He wasn't the air playing air. He was the storm at the center of it all. At the head of the table, he sat with one hand pressed to the oak surface and the other on a black folder. The room of senior partners, some loyal, most uncertain, sat quietly waiting for him to speak. This company, Alex said, has thrived on domination, secrecy, and fear for 3 generations. No one moved. That ends today. Genevieve leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, curious. Alex continued. We will shift to public transparency in 3 phases. We will divest our shadow holdings. And we will sever ties with all individuals or contractors involved in coercive influence, legal or otherwise. Genevieve raised an eyebrow. Including your father? Alex met her gaze. Especially my father. The silence broke into murmurs. No one said it aloud, but they were all thinking the same thing. This wasn't business. This was war. And Douglas Drake wasn't going to let his bloodline turn on him without retaliation. That night, Clara received a letter. There was no stamp. No return address. Just her name on the front, scrawled in heavy black ink. She opened it slowly. Inside was a single sentence. Your silence was purchased. You had no right to return. No signature. But the handwriting was familiar. From an envelope long ago. The first bribe. Douglas Drake. Clara sat on the edge of the bed, the letter trembling in her hand. This wasn't just a threat. It was a warning. The war wasn't over. It was beginning. 2 days later, a news alert pinged across the bottom of every major financial broadcast. Anonymous source leaks scandal involving Drake Holdings and improper financial transfers to a private residence linked to CEO's child. Clara's chest clenched. Alex burst into the room, phone pressed to his ear, voice clipped. Trace the source. I want the internal comms log reviewed. Madison, no press contact. None. He hung up and looked at Clara. He leaked your address. He made it look like I funneled money through you to hide it from the board. Clara's stomach twisted. He's trying to get you ousted. Or worse, Alex said. He wants Lily back in the shadows. You need to fight back. I am, he said, pacing. But I can't do this with her caught in the crossfire. He stopped. And Clara saw it in his eyes, a new thought, one that terrified him. What is it? She asked. I need to disappear, he said. Just long enough to sever the connection. Disappear? If I step down publicly, Alex said, it sends the message that this isn't about power anymore. That I've put distance between myself and everything he's trying to use. You think he'll stop? No, he said. But it buys time. And after? She whispered. He looked at her, voice low. I'll rebuild everything. But I need to know you'll be safe. That she will be safe. And if stepping away makes that possible. He trailed off. Clara walked to him, hands trembling, and placed her palm over his heart. You don't have to become invisible to protect us. But I might have to stop being a Drake, he said. And in that moment she saw the boy she had once loved. Young, idealistic, willing to burn the world down for the people he loved. Not the billionaire. Not the empire. Just the man. That night, a black car pulled up in front of the old Drake estate on the edge of Long Island. Inside, Douglas sat by the fire, whiskey in hand. Genevieve entered without knocking. He's stepping down, she said. Douglas smiled. Perfect. Genevieve, however, didn't smile. Something's different, she said. He's not retreating. Douglas sipped his drink. Of course not. But he's giving up his crown. He'll have no protection left. No board. No power. Genevieve stared into the fire. Unless what he's building outside of this is stronger than anything inside it. Douglas's hand froze. The next morning, Alex held a press conference. He stood alone at a podium, no branding behind him. Just a plain white wall and a line of microphones. I am resigning as CEO of Drake Holdings effective immediately, he said. Not because I've lost, but because the cost of power should never be the people we love. I will not allow my name to be used as a weapon against the innocent. Especially not my daughter. The room exploded with questions. He answered none. He turned and walked away, leaving behind the empire his father had built, and the war his father thought he'd won. That night, Clara stood beside him on the balcony of their hidden home. Lily slept inside, unaware of the chaos swirling just beyond their walls. You gave it all up, she whispered. I didn't give it up, he said. I chose something better. Clara leaned into him, silent for a long time. Then she reached into her coat pocket. I want to show you something, she said. She pulled out a second letter, unopened, its seal unbroken. It bore the same crest, the same weight. I got this 2 days ago. From your father. Alex took it, held it between his fingers. He looked at her. Should I open it? Clara shook her head. No. We already know what it says. He nodded. And together they dropped it into the fire. 3 days after the resignation, the city buzzed with speculation. News anchors spun theories, headlines screamed betrayal, and financial analysts scrambled to decode Alex Drake's decision. But inside the stone cottage tucked away in Forest Hills, the world was still. Clara made pancakes shaped like stars. Alex helped Lily finish a science project with a papier-mâché moon. And for the first time in years, Clara felt like life was hers again. But peace in the world of Drakes was rarely more than an illusion. The first warning came in a whisper. Madison, Alex's longtime assistant and one of the few people he still trusted inside the old company, Met him at a park bench near the East River under the veil of early morning fog. She wore a coat too big for her and dark sunglasses, her voice barely above the wind. "He's not finished," she said, sliding an envelope into Alex's hand. "Douglas is building something, a new holding company. Quiet, offshore. And he's putting it all in someone else's name." Alex's fingers tightened on the envelope. "Who?" "I don't know yet. But he's prepping a clean air. A face the board will accept, someone already on the inside. Young. Obedient." Alex's stomach turned. "It's not Genevieve?" "No. She's out of favor. Too vocal. Too ambitious." "Then who the hell is it?" Madison hesitated. "There's something else." Alex looked at her sharply. "The leak about Clara? It didn't come from the outside." "What are you saying?" She pulled out a flash drive. "One of Clara's own contacts. A woman named Elise Mallory. She sold the tip." Alex blinked. "Elise? Clara's friend from the library board?" "Used to be," Madison said. "Now she works for someone else." Back at the house, Clara was helping Lily with a puzzle when Alex returned, the flash drive burning a hole in his pocket. He didn't want to believe it. Elise had been there since Clara first left him, her shoulder to cry on, the one who helped with daycare when Clara was sick, the one who brought soup and secondhand clothes for Lily during the hardest winters. But now it all felt wrong. He waited until Lily had gone to bed before he told Clara. She stared at the flash drive like it was poison. "No," she said softly. "Elise wouldn't do that." "She leaked the address," Alex said. "She knew about the old check. She told your landlord you had ties to me. She's the one who fed it all to the press." Clara stepped back like she'd been slapped. "I trusted her," she said, "when I couldn't trust anyone. I let her hold Lily when she had fevers. I cried on her porch. She told me I deserved to leave you." Alex nodded. "She was never your friend, Clara. She was his." Clara sat down slowly, her hands gripping the edge of the table. "All this time, I thought I was hiding from him. But I was never hidden at all." Later that night, Alex met Genevieve at a bar downtown, the kind where power drank quietly and secrets paid in silence. "You said my father would retaliate," he said. "You didn't say he'd use Clara's best friend." Genevieve swirled her drink. "I assumed you understood the game." He stared at her. "What is he planning?" She leaned in, voice low. "He's grooming an heir. Young. Blood ties or close enough to fake them. If he can't have you, he'll make a new you." Alex narrowed his eyes. "Who?" "I don't know," she said. "But I do know this, he's moving fast. And if he finishes what he's building, your daughter's safety won't just be collateral. It'll be currency." Clara couldn't sleep. She sat on the back porch, robe pulled tight around her, staring into the dark yard. Fireflies blinked above Lily's fairy maze, and the wind made the ivy dance across the bricks. She hadn't called Elise. She didn't need to. The betrayal sat inside her like a splinter too deep to dig out. Alex came outside, barefoot, coffee in one hand. "She used to braid my hair when I was too tired," Clara whispered. "She held Lily when I didn't have the strength. And now I feel like none of it was real." "It was real to you," he said gently. "That still counts." Clara looked up at him. "How do we survive this?" "One day at a time." He sat beside her and they didn't speak again for a long while. The next morning Lily went missing. Clara's scream echoed through the house at 8:12 a.m. "Alex, she's gone." Her bed was empty. Her shoes were missing. The side gate was unlocked. Alex's blood turned to ice. "Check every room," he ordered. "Every closet. Every corner. Call the guards. Now." The estate was scoured. Cameras reviewed. Nothing. Until a single frame, frozen at 7:58 a.m., showed Lily walking calmly out the front gate, hand in hand with a woman in a red coat. Clara gasped. "That's Elise." Alex's hands curled into fists. "She was never here to watch you," he said. "She was here to wait." He got the call 20 minutes later. Blocked number. Alex answered on the second ring. "Don't panic," Elise's voice said. "Come. Even. She's safe. If you touch her." "I'd never hurt her. I've known her since she was in diapers, remember? I used to be part of your family once. But then you decided Clara should run back to the wolf's den." Alex's heart pounded. "Where is she?" "You'll see her soon. But first, we need you to do something." A new voice took over. Cold. Familiar. "Douglas Drake. I told you, son. You don't get to walk away from the family name." Alex closed his eyes. "I swear if you hurt her." "She's fine," Douglas said. "She's with people I trust." And if you want her back, you'll come to the penthouse. Alone. No police. No noise. And no Clara. The line went dead. Clara clutched the phone in Alex's hand, pale and shaking. I should have seen it, she whispered. I let her in. I left the door unlocked. No, Alex said. He did this. And I'm going to get her back. Clara looked up at him, fear swimming behind her eyes. How? Alex picked up his coat, his voice steady and sharp. By becoming the man he trained me to be, just long enough to end him. The elevator doors closed behind him with a hiss of finality. The smooth hum of ascent carried Alex through the empty shaft of mirrored steel and silence. He stood motionless, jaw tight, eyes fixed on the number display ticking upward. Floor 88. The top. Douglas Drake's private penthouse at the peak of the old empire. Alex hadn't been here in almost 2 years, not since his father tried to force him into an arranged merger masked as a marriage. He remembered the whiskey-soaked leather chairs, the sweeping city skyline, the walls lined with predatory oil paintings of dead billionaires staring down from their thrones. And now his daughter was up there. His daughter. He flexed his hands at his sides. She was all that mattered. The elevator slowed. A soft chime echoed. Then the doors slid open. The air on the top floor was cooler. Sterile. The lights dimmed like an opera about to begin. And waiting at the far end of the hall, beneath a massive chandelier made of hand-cut Czech crystal, stood Douglas Drake. He was older now but no less sharp. His silver hair was combed with military precision, and he leaned lightly on a cane carved from blackwood and brass. Behind him stood Elise, her red coat open, her expression unreadable. Between them, Lily, clutching her stuffed rabbit, barefoot, blinking sleepily. Alex's vision tunneled. Daddy? Her voice hit him like a blade. He stepped forward. Douglas raised a hand. Careful. Let's not be dramatic. Alex stopped. What the hell is this? He growled. A negotiation, Douglas said calmly. A reminder of what you are and what you owe. You used a child to stage a meeting. Douglas's eyes narrowed. I used your child to get you to stop pretending you're something else. Elise stepped forward slightly. She's unharmed, Alex. She thought we were going on a secret field trip. Lily looked up at her with confused eyes, the trust still holding. Alex's fists curled. If you wanted war, you should have come for me. Not her. I did come for you, Douglas said. And I've given you every opportunity to return to your place. I made you. This world, this fortune, it has your name on it. And you threw it away for what? Some woman who ran from you? A child you didn't even know about until a month ago? Alex's eyes burned. That woman is the mother of my daughter. And that child is the only legacy I care about now. Douglas sneered. You think love protects her? You think fairy tales win against power? You're a fool. No, Alex said quietly. I used to be. But not anymore. He took a step forward. Then another. I came alone, he said. Just like you asked. So now give her to me. Douglas looked at Elise. She hesitated. Give her to me. Lily's lip trembled. Elise knelt beside her. It's okay, sweetheart. Your dad's here. Lily looked uncertain. You said we were going to see Christmas lights. Elise blinked just once. A crack in the mask. Alex stepped forward. Come here, baby. Lily took a hesitant step. Then another. Her stuffed rabbit dragged on the marble floor. She ran into his arms with a sob. He lifted her, held her tight, closed his eyes and whispered, I've got you. I've got you. Then he turned to Douglas. You lose. Douglas's jaw clenched. You think this is over? No, Alex said. I think this is just beginning. He handed Lily her rabbit, whispered to her to cover her ears, then looked back up. I've spent the last 2 weeks securing every asset in the Drake portfolio under new protective trusts. Your name isn't on a single document anymore. I didn't just walk away, Dad. I took your empire and rewired it from the inside out. Douglas's cane struck the floor. You bastard. No, Alex said. You are. He shifted Lily on his hip and turned to Elise. Are you going to stop me? She looked at the child. At the man holding her. At the lie she'd helped carry. No, she said softly. I'm sorry, Clara. Alex nodded once and walked past her. Douglas's voice echoed behind him. If you walk out that door. Alex turned back, eyes sharp. I'm not coming back. Neither is she. And then he walked into the elevator, Lily held tightly to his chest. The doors closed. The ride down felt eternal. Lily buried her face in his neck. Daddy? I'm here. Her voice trembled. I don't like Elise anymore. Alex closed his eyes. I know, baby. She said Mommy was too weak to protect me. Alex's breath caught. She's wrong, he said. Your mom is the strongest person I've ever known. Lily nodded slowly. She's gonna be mad at me. No, he whispered. She's going to hold you so tight you'll forget today ever happened. Clara nearly collapsed when the car pulled up to the house. She burst through the front door and met Alex halfway down the driveway. Lily, she sobbed, reaching for her daughter. Lily leapt into her arms. I'm okay, Mommy. I'm okay. Clara crumbled, kissing her forehead, her cheeks, her hands. Alex stood back, watching them, his hands shaking with rage and relief. She's safe, he whispered. Clara looked up, eyes red. What did he want? Control. She held Lily tighter. He won't stop, Clara said. He'll keep trying. Alex stepped closer, voice cold now. Then we burn the rest of his empire. Clara blinked. How? I still have one card left, he said. The one he thinks I'd never use. What? Alex turned toward the house, a plan forming behind his eyes. His own name. That night, as Lily slept between them, safe and warm, Alex made 3 calls. The first was to Madison, with instructions to begin the final phase of a financial handoff. The second was to a journalist. And the third, the most dangerous, was to an international legal firm specializing in inheritance law. Because Douglas Drake had kept one secret longer than anyone. A secret Alex had discovered years ago and buried deep. Douglas had another child. One the world didn't know about. And Alex was going to bring them into the light. To expose the lies. To dismantle the Drake name from the inside. Once and for all. A week passed. The Drake name dominated every news outlet, not for innovation or power plays, but for the scandal unraveling its legacy from within. The revelation hit first in the business columns. Alex Drake exposes hidden heir to Drake Empire, files to dissolve controlling interest from Douglas Drake. But that was just the beginning. Through a carefully orchestrated series of legal disclosures and strategic leaks, the truth emerged piece by piece. Douglas Drake had fathered a second child in the early 90s with a woman he later paid to disappear. That child, legally unnamed, had quietly been funded through anonymous trusts for decades, until Alex found the paper trail buried beneath layers of fake shell corporations during his years of exile. The world gasped. The empire buckled. Douglas Drake was stripped of all official power on the board. His name, once a symbol of unassailable control, became a cautionary tale whispered through the corridors of power. And the final blow? The hidden heir, now an adult, publicly signed away all claims to the Drake inheritance. With Alex's help. In a quiet press conference, Alex stood beside them and spoke with finality. This legacy no longer belongs to one man. The power it held over people ends today. What's built from here on out will be transparent, accountable, and never again used to silence or control. Back at the Forest Hills cottage, life took a deep breath. The cameras left. The guards withdrew. Clara finally opened the windows again. And Lily? She smiled more. She danced barefoot in the backyard with fairy wings on her shoulders and a sparkler in each hand, as if the world had never threatened to tear her family apart. One evening, she approached Clara at the kitchen table with her sketchbook. Mommy, she said. Can I ask something? Of course. Can I make a new last name? Clara blinked. What do you mean? I don't want to be a Drake, Lily said. That name hurts your eyes when you say it. Clara reached across the table and held her daughter's hand. You don't have to be anything you don't want to be. Can I choose both your names? Clara frowned gently. Both. Like yours and Daddy's. But not Drake. Clara paused. And then she smiled. Yes, she said. You absolutely can. That night, on the porch beneath a silver blue moon, Clara sat beside Alex, sipping tea. The garden glowed with string lights. Lily was asleep upstairs. She wants to change her name, Clara said quietly. Alex looked at her. To what? She wants to use my name and yours. He frowned. I thought she didn't want to be a Drake. She doesn't. Alex exhaled slowly. Then let her. You're not upset? No, he said. Because she's right. The name Drake, it doesn't mean what it used to. And it never will again. Clara leaned against him. You destroyed it, she said. No, he whispered. I set it free. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the wind through the trees. Then Clara looked at him with the same storm-gray eyes that once watched him chase towers, not fairy tales. You could rebuild it all if you wanted. Start another company. Reclaim the power. Alex shook his head. I don't need skyscrapers anymore. Then what do you need? He turned to her. His voice was barely more than breath. This. She smiled. He reached for her hand and pressed something into her palm. She opened it slowly. A ring. Simple. Warm. Real. Marry me, he said. Clara blinked, stunned. Now. Not for the headlines. Not for the legacy. For us. She stared at him, the man she had once walked away from. Now the man she'd run toward, through fire and ash and every storm in between. Yes, she whispered. Yes, Alex. I will. A month later, they married quietly in a garden at the edge of Manhattan. No reporters, no helicopters, just laughter and lilacs and Lily holding both their hands as the sun dipped low behind them. She wore a crown of paper flowers she'd made herself. They said their vows beneath an old tree, its roots deeper than any skyscraper. And when the final words were spoken, when the rings were slipped on with shaking fingers and full hearts, Lily let go of both their hands, just for a moment, and danced in a circle. I wished for this, she said. I told Santa. Clara looked at her husband. So did Alex. And in that moment they knew. Her wish hadn't brought back the past. It had built something new. Something strong. Something sacred.